Tonight, coming home, the escape to safety as Canadians are airlifted out of Israel and an escalating war. The relief over a way out.
I am very, very thankful that I know I'm going to make it home safely, but my heart also breaks.
And the deepening desperation in sealed-off Gaza.
Everything has been so scary, and no water, no internet, nothing.
Fears for the missing.
No one has told us whether she's kidnapped, whether she's dead.
Canadian families share their anguish. Plus, an incredibly lucky grocery stop.
Come on over, sir.
My daughter went in to go get the pie crust, and I bought the ticket.
50 million reasons to celebrate a major piece of the lottery pie.
Winner, Gagnon.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina. Reporting tonight, Sandy Ronaldo.
Good evening. 2 military evacuation flights, the first of several, took off from Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, carrying almost 300 Canadians and their families. They leave behind an unsettled Israel, raw and reeling from the slaughter of 1,300 people, including babies, children, the elderly, in a savage terror rampage by Hamas.
Hamas is ISIS, and just as ISIS was crushed, so too will Hamas be crushed.
Israel's prime minister standing firm as the country's military rains down rockets on targets in Gaza. A potential ground invasion looms. The Red Cross focuses on the humanitarian distress of millions in Gaza. 1,500 have died so far, while the UN calls for an escape corridor. And there are fears for the 4 Canadians still missing, the fate of some 150 hostages unknown. CTV's Adrian Gobriel is in Israel and begins our coverage at the airport.
A hero's homecoming. Singing in unison, the most important thing is not to have fear. Not to have fear at all.
They hunted us! And we say not again!
Young Israelis line the arrivals terminal at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion International Airport to welcome Army reservists from abroad who are returning home to fight. From a defiant celebration to relief and anxiety, one floor above in departures.
I'm grateful to be alive today.
A surreal send-off following nearly a week of horror.
We've spent basically 6 days in and out of a bomb shelter.
I'm very, very thankful. It does feel good to know that I'm going to be getting home and returning to my family. You know, there was those moments over the last few days where I didn't know if I would see my family again.
Sarah Berry from Calgary had never been to Israel. A trip with her boyfriend to Ashkelon, north of Gaza, turned into a nightmare. As a relentless barrage of rockets fired by Hamas militants began raining down.
From the moment it started until the moment we got out, it's been pretty much terror. There has been nonstop explosions and sirens.
With their most precious cargo in tow, fortunate families waited patiently to board one of 2 flights out of Israel today, with so many more waiting and desperate to get out.
There are quite a number of Canadians in Israel who've asked for consular assistance and support and to get transported to a place of safety.
1,600 Canadians have asked for an airlift out of the region. That includes 180 in West Bank and more than 100 in Gaza. Speaking on background, federal government officials have said getting Canadians trapped in Gaza out is currently impossible.
Thank you very much. You too.
The Canadian military is orchestrating airlifts to Athens. From there, everyone will be offered an Air Canada flight to Toronto, though many here can't help but think of the loved ones they're leaving behind.
To walk away from them and to know that they don't get to leave is absolutely heartbreaking.
In total, 281 people got out today. The Canadian government says the airlifts will continue for as long as they're necessary, with 2 more tentatively scheduled for tomorrow and Saturday. Sandy?
Adrian Gobriel in Tel Aviv. Thanks, Adrian. Prime Minister Trudeau announced help today for civilians on both sides of the conflict.
Canada will be providing an initial $10 million in humanitarian assistance to address urgent needs in Israel and in the Gaza Strip.
3 Canadians were killed in the attacks, and a CTV's Judy Trin reports at least 4 more remain missing.
The sound of rockets exploding on Saturday, captured on Judy Weinstein Haggai's cell phone. In text to family, Haggai said she and her husband Getty were face down in a field and had been shot. This is a record of the couple's last known moments. No one has heard from them since.
I'm holding on to hope. Judy is the kindest person you ever want to meet.
Haggai is originally from Toronto and was teaching at a kibbutz. Her community on the border with Gaza was one of several attacked by Hamas militants. 22-year-old Canadian Sheer Georgie is seen on video posted on social media of young people taking shelter. She's wearing a purple scarf. She was at the music festival attacked by Hamas. Georgie's family has been searching for her since Saturday. Just one day ago, they stumbled on the images of her frightened face.
No one has told us whether she's kidnapped, whether she's dead, whether she's alive. We're doing everything by ourselves. We're going, we gave DNA, we did everything we had to do. She's on the list of the missing people.
Tiferet Lapido was at the same concert as Georgie and was able to speak to her mother while hiding.
She phoned her mom saying, I'm hiding in a bush. There are shootings around me. I'm trying to save myself. And then the conversation was cut off.
Canadian peace activist Vivian Silver is also missing. Family and friends are clinging to desperation to fill the black hole of information.
They've kidnapped these people for a reason. So they want to keep them alive. They're much more precious to them alive than dead.
The Canadian government won't confirm if the missing people are hostages, but says it will send a team of experts to assist in any negotiations. Sandy.
Judy, thank you. Now, Canadians in Gaza are also seeking assistance tonight. They're looking for help to find a way out. CTV's Jill Makashon with that story.
From dark and dangerous Gaza,
Everything has been so scary.
a 10-year-old Canadian girl sent this plea home.
Please, please help us. I really, really want to go back to my country, to my world, Canada.
The Abu Warda family, 3 children and their mother, arrived in Gaza last week to see their sick grandfather. With them, their 15 and 11-year-old cousins and their aunt. 7 Canadians trapped in Gaza and 2 worried fathers in Ontario desperate to get them out.
The situation is so dangerous.
Oh my God, something gonna happen to the kids. So we're living that like 24 hours now for the last 5-6 days.
These brothers are reassuring their families help will come, but even the Canadian government is unsure how it will happen. Gaza is cut off. There's no access to Israel, and the only other land border with Egypt has been closed since Tuesday after it was bombed. The Abu Wardas have airline tickets to leave through Egypt, but they can't get there.
We hope the government help us to get them out to the safe place.
Because this is what life is like in Gaza City tonight.
We go by this water now to drink. Electricity we use, you see this one? This is the bad time. Civilian houses being bombed. They have nothing to do with any politicians. We don't belong to Hamas.
Mohammed Kalab is a university professor. His wife, now 8 months pregnant, is a dentist.
It's very stressful for me.
What it seems many in Gaza want is help. Help to live or help to leave, but no promises yet.
So we can't wait. We can't wait because every moment pass, their life in danger.
Ottawa is discussing possible evacuation opportunities with the UN and other partners. But for the Abu Warda family in Gaza tonight, Sandy, there are no options.
All right, Jill. The intensity of what's happening in Gaza was captured during a live interview with a relief worker.
With injuries and casualties from the bombings.
Please don't continue this interview if you feel like you need to go somewhere else for your safety, Nigella.
The World Health Organization says healthcare facilities have come under fire in Gaza and 11 health workers have been killed on duty. CTV's Joy Malbon has the latest on the conflict.
Unleashing a new wave of airstrikes. The only thing reaching Gaza tonight, it seems, are bombs and shells. Israel is pounding the Hamas-ruled 40-kilometer strip of land, warning that until the hostages are released, there will be no more food, fuel, or water. Gaza will not look the same, says Israel's military chief. We will attack them. We will dismantle them. Under pressure to destroy Hamas once and for all, Israel is preparing for a potential ground invasion. 300,000 reservists called up, including this Canadian.
Every single reservist has come knowing in that they're joining a war and that there are going to be some Israeli soldiers who won't come back from that war.
Israel says it's striking Hamas military and government targets, but entire neighborhoods are being leveled. We pose no danger, this man says. We are civilians. What did the children do to deserve this? Hospitals are simply overwhelmed. Without power, the Red Cross says they risk becoming morgues.
The problem is the sheer size of the calamity that has befallen Gaza. 6,500 wounded in 6 days.
America's top diplomat arrived in Israel with a message of support and was shown graphic pictures of Israelis slaughtered by Hamas.
A baby, an infant, riddled with bullets. Soldiers beheaded. It's simply depravity in the worst imaginable way.
And sharing an emotional moment with the survivors of that music festival attack.
And if there's any way to help, first priority are our friends and family that are now in Gaza.
Promising to do whatever it takes to bring the hostages home, Antony Blinken heads to Jordan and will visit other Arab allies to try and prevent this from becoming a regional war. Sandy?
Joy, thank you. Joining us now, Javed Ali, a national security expert. Javed, what about that? How much of a risk is a wider regional war?
The risk of escalation in the coming days is definitely significant, and I believe that's why Secretary Blinken is embarked on this tour of other Arab countries to make sure that through diplomacy, at least for the United States, that that all-out regional war can be avoided.
In the meantime, Israel's prime minister is vowing to crush Hamas. What would that look like without more innocent people being hurt?
I mean, this is one of the most troubling aspects of potentially what's ahead, because depending on what the Israeli military objectives are, it could be any one of several things. It could be to literally try to kill or capture every single person who is in Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Another could be to destroy the infrastructure of terrorism that enables Hamas to conduct these kind of attacks, logistics, weapon supplies, ammunition, the tunnels. And a third could be rescue the 100+ hostages who are probably scattered in multiple locations. And all three of those things may be part of this Israeli campaign.
Okay, Javed Ali, thank you so much for your insight. Now, the conflict in the Middle East is also increasing tensions around the world. Police are now on heightened alert at synagogues, mosques, and schools. CTV's Heather Butts reports.
Outside this Jewish high school, a sense of unease and anxiety amid threats towards the Community Hebrew Academy of Toronto.
I hope that everybody takes this as a wake-up call, that this isn't a joke.
3 men were arrested, and the Toronto Police Hate Crimes Unit is now investigating. In a letter sent to families, the school said the individuals approached students and made a threat directed towards the school. No one was injured, no weapons were present.
We're in an anxious period of time. Our community is very concerned about security at this time.
The arrests adding to the rising tensions in some Canadian communities. Police across the country say they are aware of online calls for a global day of action tomorrow, but add there are no credible threats. Though police are stepping up patrols and increasing their presence in communities and around places of worship.
We want to be present in ensuring our communities not only are safe, but we need them to feel safe.
Around the world, people are on high alert. In New York, they're calling in additional police officers, while Jewish schools in some European cities will be closed Friday. In Montreal, the Jewish General Hospital is trying to minimize the number of people on site. An internal memo calls on staff to review all outpatient appointments for Friday and keep only the very essential. It encourages people to work from home. Community leaders are calling on Canadians to help one another feel safe.
Check in with other people, in your places of work or business, at the mall. Let's make sure that as much as we want to be vigilant, we also want to be inclusive and friendly.
The RCMP says it's also monitoring the online threats and is working closely with international law enforcement agencies. Police are encouraging people to be extra vigilant and report any concerning incidents. Sandy.
CTV's Heather Butts. Thank you, Heather. Coming up, a long road to justice.
I knew that a man who had committed a horrendous crime had gotten away.
The decades-old DNA evidence that cracked a cold case. The search for justice is over in the decades-old cold case of a murdered Canadian woman. Until recently, Sonia Herrock-Stone's killer roamed free. Here's W5's Avery Haynes with how Sonia's struggle in her final moments sealed the killer's fate.
In 1981, Montreal's Sonia Herrock-Stone was found strangled to death in her Carmel, California home.
You could tell she had been violated. Just horrible every way. I reached down to see if she was breathing, if I could do something, and I saw that she wasn't.
In her struggle to survive, Sonia managed to take a piece of her killer with her under her fingernail.
He kneeled over her with his face inches away from hers, and she's doing this, fighting for her life, and she gets him.
The blood type under her fingernail matched the prime suspect, a neighbor who lived across the street. Michael Glazebrook was charged, but the trial ended in a hung jury.
We had a shaky case. The case that we were able to put on was not ideal. We could not walk away from it. We had too much evidence to walk away from it without giving it a shot.
I knew that a man who had committed a horrendous crime had gotten away.
4 decades later, the case has been reopened, and DNA testing finds the odds of it being anyone but Glazebrook is 1 in 46 quadrillion.
The astronomical odds of the DNA belonging to anybody else except for Glazebrook, it creates a huge amount of evidence that proves the only killer and the real killer was Michael Glazebrook.
67-year-old Glazebrook has been sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. Avery Haynes, CTV News, Toronto.
And you can watch more of Avery's report, Who Killed Sonia, tomorrow night on W5, and note the new time slot Fridays at 10 p.m. And Saskatchewan has pushed ahead with a controversial pronoun policy, introducing the Parents' Bill of Rights.
This government also most certainly supports parents having the opportunity to be involved in their child's school, in their child's classroom, and ultimately in their child's education.
It's a divisive issue, and it's a shame to see the government use divisive politics for political games.
Under the bill, parents must consent to any gender-related name and pronoun changes for students under 16. A judge ruled against the policy, but the province is invoking the notwithstanding clause. Still ahead, mapping out misinformation, the digital battle against the spread of fake reports on the Middle East conflict. As with all modern conflicts, the Israel-Hamas war is also being fought in cyberspace, where the truth is not always what it seems. CTV's Bill Fortier reports.
This video was posted and shared multiple times. The claims, it shows a Hamas fighter taking down an Israeli helicopter. Fact checkers quickly confirmed this is a scene from a video game. Misinformation and disinformation have run rampant since the war began, mostly on social media.
This content includes unverified information, misinformation, and disinformation, including old footage from this conflict and from other conflicts.
This fake White House memo claiming the U.S. government is sending $8 billion in aid to Israel appears to actually be a doctored version of this one from July, promising $400 million for Ukraine.
The misinformation is spreading like wildfire.
Unverified information can even come from unlikely sources.
Please welcome the
the President of the United States.
Yesterday, U.S. President Joe Biden said this.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children.
The White House later clarified Biden had not seen such photos, the reports unconfirmed and denied by Hamas.
So it's been really a difficult information landscape just in general.
The group Media Matters says social media platforms are largely to blame, especially X, where owner Elon Musk laid off content moderation staff.
Because of the moves that Musk has made, the mis and disinformation that is percolating around X at this point, it far exceeds anything that we've seen on other platforms.
The European Union is demanding answers, today making a legally binding request for information on how X is handling misinformation around the conflict. The company says it's taken down or added labels to thousands of posts. Sandy.
Bill, thank you for this. After the break, a longtime lottery player finally hits the jackpot, and it's a big one. A trip to the grocery store these days can put a strain on anyone's budget, but one Montreal man walked out with millions. CTV's Vanessa Lee tells us how a simple errand led to extraordinary luck.
When Pierre Richer went into a Montreal grocery store for a crucial ingredient for apple pie, he had no idea it would turn into this much dough.
My daughter went in to go get the pie crust, and I bought the ticket. So without the pie crust being on sale, I wouldn't have went to Super C.
While he has been playing the lottery for decades, he says he wasn't planning to buy a ticket for last Friday's $50 million draw.
But I had 2 free tickets in my pocket, so I went to play them. And I asked for 2 Lotto Max at the counter, and that's what happened. It cost me $10.
The best investment he has ever made, becoming the 52nd Lotto millionaire in Quebec so far this year.
Are you in shock a little bit?
No, not really. Not really, no. No. I feel this, like I said, I feel the same, and, you know, I can't say much more. Look at me.
Richer works as a driver and shipper at a catering company. The loyal employee was back on the job at 4:30 a.m. Thanksgiving morning.
We had parties, so had to go and ship the stuff to the job because it was starting early in the morning.
Even in his 60s, he says he isn't retiring just yet, but does have a couple of purchases in mind.
The plan is to buy a house and a new car, and that's basically it.
His dream, he says, is to mow the lawn at that new house, proving perhaps life's simplest pleasures are priceless. Vanessa Lee, CTV News, Montreal.
Nice story. Thank you for sharing your time with us this Thursday. I'm Sandy Ronaldo for Omar, and all of us at CTV National News. Have a good night. I'll see you Saturday.